these are 7 different naval chairs, specifically made for use on board ship. And this is a really rare opportunity for us to compare and contrast all of these different chairs, because for us to have 7 in at the same time in the shop is extremely unusual. It'll probably never happen again. Normally we count ourselves lucky to maybe find a naval chair once every 2 or 3 years. So we're going to go through them and we're going to have a look at their different attributes and compare and contrast. So the first thing to do is to explain to you exactly what a naval chair is. Now you may already know, a month or so ago we posted a video of this naval chair with a red seat, which you might have seen. Basically, a naval chair differs to a chair that would more likely be used by an army officer in the fact that it has to fold up quickly. You don't want legs that have to be unscrewed and dismantled that all take time. On board ship, if you sight the enemy, the guns have got to get into action quickly, hence the phrase, clear the deck. All the furniture has got to be moved quickly. If it can't, it's thrown overboard. You need to clear the decks, get the guns into action, because it had guns everywhere in the officers' cabins, everywhere. Nelson even had guns in his cabin. So you want to get all of the furniture below deck into small boats being pulled behind the ship. Sometimes furniture even went up into the rigging. So in order for the chair to fold up quickly, you've got these hinges to the sideways so that you can flip the hinge up, the seat up on its hinge like this one, fold these hinges in, and all of a sudden you have got a very narrow chair which can be stacked easily and moved easily in tight corridors with other chairs. So that's a naval chair, made to fold up really nice and quickly and easily. Now, most of them tend to be late 18th century, like this one. This one's about 1780, and it's probably the best chair out of all of the lot. If we come in a little bit closer, you can see all of this wonderful carving to the back, and this chair is quite exceptional for that. They've really gone the whole 9 yards with it, and it stands out for all of that extra work. It's a really nice quality chair. So that's about 1780. These two are late 18th century, sorry, not 1780, 1770. 10 years, very important. These two are late 18th century. This unusual one, which we'll go into later, is also late 18th century, around about 1780. And then these three at the back are more of a Regency looking chair. You can see this nice sweep to the back and the shape of the back, and they're going to be round about 1825, these three to the back. And the naval chair was such a good design that it was made over a number of years. So we're seeing them from probably round about 1840, 1850 up to 1820s, 1830s. After that point, we don't really see the naval chair being used much. But having said that, we did have a set of teak Anglo-Indian naval chairs, which were Art Deco in design, and so round about 1920 in date. And here's a quick picture of them. So as I've said before in these videos, good design lasts. You know, if you design something properly and well, and it's very functional, it'll last. It'll last centuries. And this design certainly did that. So let's talk about the variation in this type of chair. Well, as you can see, all of them except one don't have arms. So let's start with that one. This is an armchair. Now, occasionally we see them, but not that often. And the arms fold quite simply. Made in two sections. You've got a brass clip here, which will undo. You've got a tenon here, which will go into a socket, mortise joint here. Then that will just drop, and that will drop. So let's just get in a little bit closer and show you that mechanism. So you've got a sprung push button there, which just releases it from the arm. So we do the same on the other one. A little bit tighter, that goes down. Same action, seat comes up, hinges fold, you've automatically got a very flat chair. Now, those with arms are much harder to find. This one's been recaned, obviously. We'll get the colour a little bit better on that, just so it doesn't stand out as much. But this is a good example of a late 18th century naval chair. Now, on the two that we've shown you, the seat is hinged to fold up to allow you to fold the chair nice and quickly. Not all of them have got hinged seats. Some of them, like this example, have got a drop-in seat. So the whole seat lifts out and the chair folds. So perhaps not quite as practical on board ship, because you're moving two pieces rather than one, but what you do get for it probably is a little bit of extra comfort with a padded seat. You have it on this one, but not so much on the others. You might have a separate cushion on those. So this one has also got a drop-in seat. It's slightly different in that it drops into a frame, which folds down. You can see you've got two lugs on the seat which fit into these two holes here. And actually, looking at it, you can see the contrast in colour of the wood of the frame, much darker. It's always had a seat on it, to the rest of the chair, which has faded a little bit more in the light. Now, another very unusual variation on the seat is this example. And it's still got a hinge seat, but instead of lifting up against the back, it drops down to the front, which is very unusual. So it all folds in like that. The hinge is set not as tight to the back rail, much further out, to give you that space, wider bar at the top here, so that it'll fold down in front of the legs. Now that's really quite unusual. We've never seen one like this before, and we examined it quite carefully when we bought it, just to check that it was always meant to be that way, and yes, it was. But also, the seat is aboard rather than being caned. So we have a cushion to go on top of that. So that's an interesting, unusual variant. I'm not sure we'll ever see another one of those again. It really is quite extraordinary. So, other variants, well, let's come back to this one. And you will have noticed the back to this chair. So we've got the drop-in seat, which is a little bit different, and the frame, which we've already spoken about. But you've also got this really unusual back, and this leather pad that we've had made for it just lifts off. I mean, even on a domestic chair, that's quite unusual. We're not quite sure the reason for doing that. Presumably, it was just to make the back a little bit more comfortable by having a padded section to the top, but it's really quite extraordinary and unusual. Added to that, you've also got this turned rail to the back, which we haven't seen on other examples. The legs are perhaps a little bit more elegant, a little bit thinner. It's all a little bit more slender and perhaps graceful in shape. So that's a very interesting variant. Now, most naval chairs that you'll see are made of mahogany. Like this example, this one, and this one, and this Regency example. These two are made of oak, and they stand out for it. I know we've got two in oak, but they're the only two that we've ever seen in oak. So these two stand out for that. So that's another variation. And as you can see, that all folds in quite neatly. Now, let's come in a little bit closer and look at the joints. And I need to find an example to compare this one. Yeah, this one will do. So we bring these two in. Now, you can see hopefully these folded joints, and they just butt up to each other. This one on the bottom, you can see it butts up. The top, slightly different in that you've got a tenon to this top rail, which then goes into a mortise at the back, and that just makes that a little bit stronger. On this and other examples, you have got tenons with mortises top and bottom, and also at the front. And that's a variation you'll see. So sometimes you'll see the tenon, sometimes you'll see them without tenons. And having those tenons and mortise joints just makes it that little bit stronger, gives it an extra little bit of support. So let's go through the chairs in date order, just to sum them all up for you. So we've got a late 18th century mahogany naval chair. Stands out for having arms. We see them occasionally, but not that often. We've got another mahogany late 18th century naval chair. This one's got a drop-in seat as opposed to a hinged folding seat like that one. This chair's got the hinged seat, padded seat. It's around about 1770 in date. Really stands out for the back, which is an exceptional back, and they've really gone to a lot of trouble with the carving. Looks just like a really good quality domestic chair of the day. Another mahogany one. This one stands out for its unusual back with this padded section which is removable, being slightly more elegant perhaps in shape, and with a drop-in seat which goes onto a hinged frame. Mahogany again, Regency, around about 1825. This has got a nice back as well. You've got some lovely moulding to the back here, and this X with a little carved patray in the middle. You've also got some inlaid ebony to these two bars. Let's just come in a little bit closer. You can hopefully see that. So inlaid ebony around there. Nice carved patray to the middle. Moulding cut just to lift it a little bit. Hinge seat with the caning replaced. Around about 1825. Onto the two oak chairs. Hinge seat. A little unusual for being oak. We don't see them in oak that often. This one has got some quite simple but nice moulding cut to the back. Not perhaps as sharp and refined as the mahogany one, but it does lift it a little. Nice shape side on as well. That nice sweep to the back. This one's got a very similar back. You've got moulding to the uprights, but not to the crossbars. You've got the nice shaped back there. Again, it's oak as well, and it stands out for the unusual seat action. You've got to lift it up a little bit, fold the legs, and then it's made to drop down to the front rather than lift up against the back. So, there you go, a great opportunity to talk about different variations of a naval chair, and you also saw the photograph earlier of the set of Anglo-Indian Art Deco teak naval chairs from the 1920s. A great design that really has stood the test of time. The naval chair.